Hey everybody, I'm Lorraine Beato. I am here with Gus with PowerISA. We actually chatted a couple of years ago. And we hope that you enjoy this session. And Gus is going to teach us all about what his folks do and how we can make an extra 100 grand.
Right. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Lorraine. Welcome, everyone. Good to be back with Lorraine. Looks like I didn't remember that. We've been on this, we've been through this rodeo before. Well, we're back in 2025, giving you the latest information. Today's topic is a really good one. The ISA formula, how some of the top teams in the country are using their ISAs. And I think a goal that you should have when you have an ISA, a full-time person calling for you, is find a formula, find a way to get them to produce an additional 100,000 in GCI for you within 12 months. I think that's a very achievable goal. That's not even what the top 1% of ISAs do. The top 1% have to do way more than that. But I think this is a reasonable goal for 12 months of an ISA calling for your team. And I'm going to talk about that today. I'm going to lay it out. We're going to go step by step on how is that even possible, right? And for the folks jumping in, I'd love to hear where you guys are from. Drop, the city in there. In fact, I'll drop mine right now. Where are people watching us from? I am in sunny Mexico, where it is a crisp 75 degrees right now at 10 in the morning. So, there we go. It's going to be a hot day today, probably in the mid 80s. So, can't complain. Can't complain. San Diego, California. Go Padres. Opening day yesterday. Go Pods. Win yesterday. I love it. Houston, Texas. Houston also won yesterday. Rhode Island. No baseball team, but welcome, Jose, from Rhode Island. Awesome. Johns Creek. There we go. Full of pollen. Yeah,
That's
there's
me, full of
pollen out here
pollen.
like crazy. This allergy season has been something else. This is crazy. Orlando, Florida. Lovely Orlando. All right, folks. Let us know where you folks are joining us from. That's always fun. Lorraine, where are you at today?
So I'm the one in Johns Creek with full of pollen to
Oh,
where I was
John.
driving and
Oh,
I
there you
could
go.
see the pollen in the air. My black cart is like yellow green.
When you can see it, when you can see the air you're breathing, you got to take precautions. So I started taking my was antihistamine in November. Just to get ahead of it for the pollen season over here. But watch those allergies, people. All right, let's jump into it, folks. We have people a few minutes to jump in. I think we got a good group today. Oh wow, 40 people, awesome, watching this
Awesome.
live. I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for making time. I know it's hard on a Friday morning to make this happen or early afternoon over on the East Coast. Let's jump into it, shall we? The ISA formula, where do we start? Because a lot of folks say, oh, you got to find a great ISA. You got to do the interview. You got to do this, you got to do that. So I'm actually going to turn this around a little bit, right? In this webinar, we're actually not going to be talking about dialers, not going to be talking about the best CRM to make this happen. In my opinion, that is not the highest order problem you have to solve when you're talking about solving the ISA formula. Where do we have to start? I'm going to start where you should. This should be priority number one. If you're thinking about adding an ISA, this should be the first problem you tackle, which is a lead system that works. Okay. You have to have a process by which you put leads in and transactions come out on the other end. Okay. This is, and it sounds very simple to say that. Oh, you got to make sure you can close leads. You would be surprised that a lot of agents jump into the ISA assuming that that's going to solve everything. And I'm here to tell you it works very differently. If you want to get massive results from an ISA, you've got to plug in the ISA into a lead system that works. Okay. That is how you get those massive results. That's how you get those big wins, those 100,000 plus, within 12 months with an ISA, is if, and there's a big if, they are working leads that you yourself have closed. Okay. Now, I'm going to say it another way. Instead of having a lead system that works, they've got to be calling leads that you yourself have been able to close from that same lead source, okay? That is probably the biggest factor to be successful with an ISA. And some people go into it without that, right? They kind of assume, and I'll talk about, some of the common mistakes and some of those things that happen, but this is like this is not even step number one. This is step number zero. Okay. You've got to go into it understanding that if you have no ISA, get the ISA out of the equation. If you put leads into the system, transactions come out on the other end, right? Even if it's not a great conversion rate, even if it takes you 6 months or 12 months, that's not what I mean. I mean, if you put leads in, you can get a deal on you're fairly confident you're going to close some of these cold leads, internet leads, your old database leads. Whatever happens, you know how to convert those from A to B to C and take it to the finish line. All right. That is how you can actually add leverage to these systems. Okay. I see a lot of agents that get stuck, that they're successful. Actually, this is a good problem to have. I'm not saying this is terrible. They're making calls. They're busy. They have a lead system that works, or that works reasonably well. And one of the problems that they have is that they want to buy back some of their time. They get busy. They stop lead generating, and they're on the roller coaster of income. Okay, they get busy. They reduce their time for lead generation, and they're back to square one within 2 to 3 months. If that's ever happened to you, you know what I'm talking about, right? This is how they can get out of that cycle. Having an ISA, adding leverage with an ISA to get more results out of these lead sources. Okay, that is the goal. Here's another step in the process to solve the ISA formula. Okay, this is another big block. Okay, this is a big marble we got to take on. Shaking the tree. What do I mean by that? This is if you take nothing away from this presentation, I want you to take this away from it. Okay, this is a big idea. I want you to. That's why I like this. I got this from Coach John D. Smith. Shaking the tree. I like it. I like the concept. What does this mean? It means that when you have an ISA, there's this preconceived notion. There's this model out there that say, hey, I'm going to get an ISA, and all they're going to hand me are listing appointments. All they're going to hand me are buyer appointments, and that's all I want. Anything else, ISA, I don't care for it. Only call these leads and only ever hand off listing appointments to me, right? And I think that model is very flawed. Okay, appointments aren't always the goal. Appointments aren't always the goal. Qualified sellers and qualified buyers are definitely the goal. What do I mean by that? If your ISA takes a list, 500 homeowners, you're going to do a circle prospecting campaign, 500 homeowners around your latest listing or your latest pending or your closed deal from last year. It doesn't matter to me. 500 people around there. They're going to call them, and they might not get a bunch of appointments from that list. Just to be really clear. But what they probably will get is maybe 5, maybe 10 qualified sellers, confirmed homeowner, confirmed information, and curiosity, desire, motivation to sell. Maybe not right now, but maybe 6 months from now, maybe a year from now. Okay. That is the goal. Qualified sellers. And if you're calling, your old internet leads, you want to get qualified buyers, people that were on your website looking for properties, and they've become unresponsive to you, right? They're not logging in anymore into the system. They're not giving you signals. Just because a lead is unresponsive to you through your CRM, and you might have an excellent CRM. Just because the lead is unresponsive to you doesn't mean they're not responding to somebody else. That's why you got to pick up the phone and give them a call, send them a text message. Not always an automated text message. Sometimes it has to be a personalized text message to get them to respond, right? That is the goal. You want to qualify that buyer and take them out of the pond, out of the swamp, and turn them into someone that is still looking to buy. Okay? That's what I mean by qualified lead, right? Confirmed homeowner or confirmed buyer, confirmed contact information, and confirmed motivation. They have a desire to buy. They still have a desire to buy or sell. Okay. If you flip the goal of the ISA from only giving you appointments that are ready to go into giving you qualified buyers and sellers, they can do that in day one. They can start off. They can hit the ground running in that. And then what is your job then? What's your role in the process? You should be asking that. Well, Gus, if what they're doing is giving me qualified buyers and sellers, where are the appointments going to come from, right? Where's the cheese? What's going on? Where's the beef here? You can call those leads and figure out if they're actually qualified and set appointments with the ones that are the hottest and are the ones you should be meeting with right now. Okay. That is the difference. And I'm not saying, and I don't mean this to say your ISA can't set appointments. Of course they can. If the lead is ready to go, they're motivated, they're ready to go. That's great. I'm just saying that a lot of times they have to talk to you, the agent, to get ready to go, especially sellers, right? I think buyers, ISAs, and I'll walk through each one of these systems a little bit more detail. I think buyers, ISAs have an easier time setting appointments. The sellers, they know what they have, guys. They know we want to talk to them, right? They take more work because they're more valuable, which I think is fine. But this shaking the tree model is so important to understand because this is the most successful model that I've seen for ISAs, where they can close 1, 2, 3 transactions in 30 days, 60 days. It's when this works because they're just generating leads for you, qualified leads. They're taking a cold list and generating qualified sellers. They're taking a bunch of old internet leads and generating qualified buyers. And instead of making 300 phone calls, right? If you're prospecting, you have to make 5 phone calls, 2 phone calls to the people that are the most responsive and that actually want to talk to you. Okay. That's a game changer. That's a very different task. To call 300 leads for an agent, you got to set aside an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of your day, right? How about setting aside 15 minutes to make a couple calls? Which do you think is more doable, right? Which do you think is a better use of your time? The highest and best use of your ISA is turning your follow-up calling time from 3 hours to 30 minutes. That is the highest and best use of your ISA, giving you the most qualified people to talk to. Okay. And some folks can say, oh no, Gus, I that's an interesting idea, Gus. I'd rather have my ISA do appointments. Here's the challenge of having your ISA only do appointments, right? Here's the challenge. It might take longer than you want, right? It might take longer than what you would expect. And here's another big reality. You have more knowledge, more experience, and you're a better judge of whether that person's ready for an appointment now or later. You are better at that, right? It's the job of your ISA to keep your pipeline full, and then you can just pick and choose who's ready to go at that point, right? You're following up with only the most motivated, the most qualified, the most responsive leads out of hundreds, out of thousands to a dozen, right? Or 2 dozen that you're keeping close. And your ISA is making calls all day to make sure you always have a group of 10 to 20, 30 that you're keeping in touch with because that's your pipeline. Those are your future buyers and sellers for the next month, the next 90 days, the next 6 months, the next year. Okay. Very important concept. I'm going to go to the next one. Got a lot of slides to get through today. Lorraine, if you see any questions pop up, let me know because I'm going to blast through the rest of these. Right. All right. The most common lead systems we see with ISAs. If you're talking about outbound prospecting, it's the usual suspects, expired listings, old expireds. A lot of ISAs having a lot of success because guess what? There's more expireds in the market now than there were a couple of years ago, right? Surprise, surprise. After 2022 was the turning point, summer of 2022. After the summer of 2022, we started seeing expireds increase. Why? Because the market slowed down. That's why, okay? Now, we're also seeing canceled listings. You see those all the time. For sell by owners, a lot of for sell by owners in some of these markets. Circle prospect, this is probably the most popular prospecting for ISAs to do because agents never do it. Right now we have, over 100 clients working with PowerISA, 2 teams out of 100, okay, that have ISA teams. Some of them have 8-person ISA teams. 2 teams make a lot of money from circle prospect. Very few agents want to do it, right? So a lot of people jump in and I should say this. 2 teams did it before coming to PowerISA. That's a more accurate description. 2 teams made money before coming to PowerISA. So a very small amount of teams do circle prospecting. A lot of them hire ISAs to help them do more circle prospecting and talk to some of these motivated sellers. Okay. Absentee owners, for rent by owners. These are the most popular outbound prospecting campaigns right now. I'm talking about the spring of 2025. Inbound, another lead system, inbound internet leads. Like this is probably the most popular lead system, right? Because all it takes to do this is your credit card. That's all it takes. Get your credit. You pay a bunch of money and you're going to get leads. How many? How good are they? That's another question. But it is as simple as giving someone a ton of money and you're going to get some leads, right? So inbound internet leads, Zillow, Realtor.com, Google PPC, Facebook, or Meta, whatever you want to call it, Instagram. And then the third most popular one, right? The third is agents and teams that have large databases. I was talking to a team yesterday on our weekly coaching call with our clients. It is a team out of Central Florida, 26,000 internet leads in their database. Okay. And that's not even like the top 10 largest we work with. But that we were just talking yesterday about it, 26,000. They have 2 full-time people that all they do is call that list of 26,000 people. If they only had a single person calling that, it would take them about 6 months to get through everybody. Single line dialer, right? Just it would take them months to do it. They have 2 people doing it. It takes them half the time. So they got people that teams that have large databases, they want to monetize those leads. They've already spent the money. They got to rekindle and they got to get more deals out of those leads. And some of these CRMs are excellent at doing this, right? I'm talking about the usual suspects, the follow-up bosses, the Sierra Interactives. Those are probably the best. Lofty, and one of them, Lofty live out there. Lofty, the sponsor of Lab Code Agents too. Those are some of the best CRMs out there. And systems like Fellow, systems like Ylopo, they're great at getting people to come back into your website, come back into the CRM. So all these systems are signals, guys. Ylopo by itself, again, I don't think they would disagree with me on this. Ylopo by itself, Fellow by itself isn't going to give you squat. They are signals. They're giving you signals. They're giving you intelligence. They're giving you information. Someone's got to pick up the phone. Someone's got to shoot out the text and try to get them to respond, right? That's what the ISA does. They look at these signals from these massive systems and they reach out and they make those connections and they head off to the agent. Okay. I'm gonna go into more detail. Okay, so where does the ISA fit into this? So okay, great, Gus. Lead system, I get it. Where should I put my ISA for the most leverage? Right here. Okay. For outbound prospecting, I'm gonna take an example here. You've got cold leads, you've got your ISA taking a list of these are the largest lists. Thousands of leads can be, well, I don't even know if I call them leads. Thousands of homeowner information, tons of homeowner information in here, right? Expired listings, it can be canceled, it can be circle, thousands of these records. The ISA goes through them to generate a warm handoff, right? And this is what I call the qualified seller. That's where they go. They go to the agent, and then the agent has the opportunity to set the appointment. But if this person is 6 months out, and folks, a big misconception about lead sources like expired listings is that they're all immediate business. It can take up to 9 months. Within 9 months, about 90% of expireds relist. Not within 9 days. Within 9 months, the majority of expired listings will relist. But you got to make sure that you're reaching out and that you're in touch with them throughout that process. The job, and that example, the job of the ISA is to break through, actually talk to them, get their attention, and connect them with you to see when is the right time to get them back on the market. Some people will be immediately. That's true. A lot of people will be 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, 9 months down the line. Expired listing, okay? And that's why I really like calling old expireds. 1-year-old expireds that haven't relisted. You should be calling them right now. Hey, the market's doing this. You're the expert. I want to get more listings on the market, right? Because the market's doing this, the market's doing that. Remember, if the market's going up, jump on that rocket ship. If the market's going down, make sure you cash out now, right? If the market's going down, you can always find the right motivation if that person needs to sell. So for an expired listing, the most important thing to do with them, are they still motivated to sell? That's it. And you can have that conversation with a 1-day-old expired, which are harder to reach. Everyone's calling them. Or a 6-month-old expired. Same problem. Are they still motivated to sell? Because you can help them do that, okay? Next, another example, inbound internet leads. This is a little bit different, okay? It's a little bit different. Very similar. It's a little bit different. You've got a bunch of inbound leads. The ISA is trying to set appointments, is trying to do live transfers, right? But they're phone appointments. Live transfers by definition over the phone, okay? You're trying to make sure, they're just trying to get people's attention. And they're handing off those qualified buyers because they might not be able to set appointments with all of them. But guess what? They just requalified this lead called Lorraine. Hey, she's looking, in Georgia, still looking for a home. She's dealing with a pollen allergy, but once she's out after that, she's past that, she's going to be ready to go, next month. Okay. It's not appropriate to set an appointment with Lorraine right now. It doesn't make any sense. They're just telling you they can't even breathe through all these allergies. But in 30 days, they're going to be ready to go. You should make that connection, right? You got 30 days. The clock's ticking. You got 30 days to make that connection and then help them out, right? That's a qualified buyer lead. And here's another. Again, this is a dirty secret. If you've never done internet leads, you should know this. Whoever sets an appointment with an internet lead, whether it's an ISA or a real estate agent or anyone, sets an appointment with an internet lead, 50% are not going to attend. Probably at least 50% are not going to attend those appointments. Okay. Appointments are tricky with internet leads. The link can be very weak. All right. Some of the top teams use their ISAs to get those people back, right? They book an appointment, they don't attend. Guess what? They don't lose the lead. It goes back on the plate of the ISA. Let's go. Let's get them back, right? Let's get them requalified. Let them cool off for a little bit, re-engage them, and see where they're at, right? Because, life happens, things are normal, and there's a very weak link early on. It takes a lot of work to get an 80, 90% attendance rate on appointments, right? And that's another piece of content I'll probably be talking about next month. But for now, the typical real estate agent and real estate team is about 50% attended. So you got to work those appointments because 50%, you might lose them if you're not careful, okay? So that's where an ISA can add a ton of value for inbound internet leads. What are these common mistakes I'm talking about, right? I already mentioned several of them. If you hire this is really important because this happens even to our clients. This happens. If you're trying out a brand new lead system with an ISA, a lead system you've never closed any deals from, you've just doubled the challenge, right? It's not just the challenge of getting an ISA, getting up, onboarding them, getting them up to speed and getting results. You now have to test out the lead system too, okay? You've got two problems to solve instead of one. And one can be enough for people, right? You're having to solve two problems simultaneously. And that's just harder, okay? It's harder and it takes more time. And that you gotta be aware of that, right? It can be the blind leading the blind. You've got a lot of variables. You're adding a lot of points of failure. If you're not closing deals from this lead source, is it the ISA? Is it the script? Is it the dialer? Is it the leads themselves? What's going on? If you plug an ISA into a system that you're already closing deals from, you're taking one huge variable off the table. These leads work, okay? They're not perfect. No lead system is, but you can close deals from it, right? With enough leads and enough time, you can close deals from it. You know what a strong lead sounds like. You know what they're supposed to look like, right? There's no guessing here. When you have too much guessing going on, it's not going to be productive. You're adding too many points of failures. You should plug an ISA into a system you know works, all right? Another mistake, you ignore the shaking the tree model. And I get it because a lot of us have been taught that all ISAs do is set appointments, okay? I'm going to tell a quick story. I had someone hire me once. This is before I started PowerISA, like what it is right now. And I was consulting with agents and teams on how to fix their ISAs. And one agent told me, Gus, you got to help me, man. I've heard that ISAs can set 3 appointments a day. This is a few years ago. 3 appointments a day, and my ISA is setting 1 appointment a week. Gus, you got to help me. I go, okay, cool. I'll jump in. I'm for hire. Tell me. And I dug in. I looked at the numbers. I looked at the scripts, and I told him, so I mean, what are you calling? I couldn't find the leads I was looking for. Oh, we're just doing circle prospect. Like, so what? You're calling? I was looking for like a CRM with these, Google or Facebook leads. There was nothing. There was a bunch of lists that were from circle prospect. And I go, you're generating an appointment a week from circle prospecting? He goes, yeah. And last week I said 2. So I'm setting one from new leads and I'm setting one from my old leads that I'm following up with. And I'm like, you're doing an amazing job, right? Because what they were doing is they were generating 2, 3, 4, 5 qualified sellers a day. Okay. They were absolutely killing it. But the agent, their boss, right, had a completely different expectation. They were basing their expectation on someone calling super hot internet leads, 10, 20, 30 new leads a day. You can set an appointment or 2 or 3. If you have 10, 20, 30 leads a day, new inbound, you can set multiple appointments a day. And that's the expectation they had, but they were calling the wrong thing. It's crazy to me that's a real story because you can have the wrong expectation because you do not understand what a good result is. Okay. You don't get that the job of the ISA might not be to set a bunch of appointments every day, but what are they doing? What result are they achieving? Got to be clear on that, right? And you got to understand that is that a good result or is that a bad result? Right. And is that a result that you want to work with? That's fine. Understood. If you only want to do appointments, then maybe you should call some of these yourself because an ISA is not the best option. If you're going to be for circle prospecting and setting a bunch of appointments, you should look for another lead source that isn't circle prospect. You should adapt. Okay. And you might be putting your ISA in the wrong part of the lead system. All right. I've seen teams that have ISAs that only work new leads. Right. And again, that's not the wrong part, but they neglect to understand that there is leakage in every step of the process. They're only calling new leads and they're handing them off to agents. What are the agents doing with them? What if they become unresponsive? They uncontacted again. They're not responsive. What if they book an appointment and they don't attend the appointment? What if they're in the process of looking and then they turn off? So the ISA, like I showed you in the chart, you've got to be aware that they can add value in more than just one spot, right? And you got to be honest. And if you make a decision, I only want them to do this. Make sure you understand the trade-off of that, right? Who else is covering the other parts of where leads can leak out, right? Got to understand it. Put them in the right place. All right. So we've covered, these are the lead systems. I'm going to go into more detail on these different lead systems because to solve the ISA formula, you got to figure out how to make these lead systems work. I'm going to take the deep dive into prospecting, okay? Into prospecting. Why prospecting? Outside of your personal database, people that already know, like, and trust you, outside of that, it is the most profitable way to generate deals, okay? And to generate leads too. It is the most profitable way to do that, right? They have the highest converting lead sources, right? That are cold leads, which are expired in FSBO, withdrawn and canceled, right? And this, as opposed to your personal database, this scales much better. You can grow this business much faster than you can grow your database. Try doubling your database from one year to the next. That's, next to impossible to do. You can call twice as many sellers through prospecting from one year to the next. You can. You either double the time you're calling or you hire someone to help you call. It's very doable to talk to twice as many sellers through prospecting. It is next to impossible to double your database. So prospecting is much more scalable. All right. And I've got some examples here how that works. How can an ISA help you here? Like I said, you got that shaking the tree model and you want to apply it. This is what I really like about it. I told you about expireds, right? There's a sweet spot for these old expireds. I really like 2 to 18 months old. I like it. They might get, they're fatigued, right? You have your ISA shake the tree with those old expireds. You call, text, and send them a voicemail. And this is the one you want to use. I really like this script. This is not for like a phone call. This is for a text message or a voicemail. Hey, are you still accepting offers on 123 Main Street? I love that script, right? So I definitely stole that from somewhere. Someone much smarter than me. That works really well to get a response. And then when they've responded, you start the conversation. The key important factor here is to understand, are they still motivated to sell? If you could still sell, where would you go? Would you still like to make that happen? What if I could bring you a qualified buyer with a bona fide offer, would you still sell? I'm just curious. You're making these calls or your ISA is making these calls, right? They're just asking people, would they still be willing to sell? And you want to talk about the current market. If the market's up, if the market's down, why is it important for them to take action now? What are the advantages of that, right? And are they able to? What's holding them back? I'm just curious, right? I think right now is a great time to sell because of this, this, and this. What's holding you back, Lorraine? I'm just curious about that. Have a conversation, connect with them. What's going on, right? But that's the starting point, right? For you or your ISA. Next, one I really like I mentioned before, absentee owners. I still think this is a very underutilized lead source for a lot of markets. I myself, I know this. You know why I know this? Because I'm an absentee owner, right? I have a couple properties in Seattle. It's depressing how few people call me about those properties, right? And I know when people are calling me for those properties because I no longer live in Seattle, but I can get a phone call from a Seattle number. I know who you are. I see you. And there's very few of you. Okay. I remember in the pandemic years, in the first 24 months of the pandemic, if you guys recall, we had a pretty big inventory crunch those first couple of years. I think I maybe got 5 people reaching out to me in 2 years. Okay. In 2 years. Very few people. Again, maybe you don't like getting calls from folks. I'm fine. I get that. But I was kind of expecting more from my chums in Seattle, my peeps. I wanted more effort because this is a very underutilized lead source. And this is a little bit of a different approach. If you're texting, if you're leaving a voicemail, are you the owner of 123 Main Street? Are you the owner? Trust me, I'm an absentee owner. If I get a text message asking me, am I the owner of 123 Main Street? That's going to get my attention. What happened? What's wrong with my property? Is it on fire? Why do you need to know if I'm the owner? What's going on? You're going to get my attention. And you can start the conversation from there. And then good old circle prospect. Like I said, this is the most popular form of prospecting for all of our clients because this is the reason though. Most of them don't do it, right? They want to jump in, they want to add this on there, or they do it, they just don't have enough time to do more. They don't have time to do it. They call expireds. They know how to close cold leads. They know how to do it. They've just never had the patience and the time to do circle prospect, but they know how to close cold leads. We add this on, right? A lot of our internet lead clients, people that are converting online internet leads, they add circle prospecting because of all the forms of prospecting, cold calling. Circle prospect is the easiest to do, and it is the least confrontational, least problematic seller you're going to find, right? That's why a lot of agents thrive on circle prospect because you're just talking to people in your neighborhood. This is not an expired seller. This is not an angry FISBO, former agent. I don't know if this happened to you guys, but when I was calling FISBOs, I would always get the angry former real estate agents. They want to sell on their own off market. Maybe that was just me. They had bad luck with that. But circle prospect is a lot easier because of that, right? You're not starting the relationship on a confrontational note, right? You're just trying to help. I really like circle prospect. All right, great. We've got a bunch of case studies. You can check it out. So we talked about how can you make $100,000 with prospecting, right? Follow my math. Follow my math. I'm basing all of this math on a really simple formula, okay? Average price in the US is $400,000. I know it's crazy, right? About 400,000. A typical commission check, and I'm not price fixing here. A typical, like average commission check will be about $10,000 from that property. Okay, more or less $10,000. How many of those deals on an average price home for the U.S.? How many of those deals do you have to close to get 100,000? About 10 transactions. Simple math, napkin math. If you're not closing 10 deals or more per year, there's no way you're making 100,000 or more, right? So how can you do it? It takes 20 to 30 qualified seller leads to get one closing in 12 months. Okay. You got to generate 20 to 30, right? If you're talking about, and this can be like from Circle Prospect, it can be as simple as that. You can probably use less of those if it's expired or for sale by owner. They convert higher, right? If you can get your ISA to generate 1 or 2 qualified seller leads per day, your ISA needs to call for about 30 days to generate enough leads for one transaction. And in about 13 months, you can get the 10 transactions. Okay. 13, give or take a month, about a year. Come on. Give me a break. But that's how the math works out. If your ISA can generate on average 1 to 2 qualified sellers per day, in a year, they can add 10 additional transactions to your team. This is not an outlandish goal. This is not an impossible goal to achieve, okay? This is an achievable goal because our clients are able to achieve it. I've got some case studies here. This is from Johnny Wells, 6 listings in the first 5 weeks. So Johnny, all he needed to do was talk to more sellers. He didn't have enough time in the day to call more. He got an ISA and boom, he's able to take off. We've got, Will May here, 4 listings in the first 4 months. He's on track for 10 or more in a year, right? 4 listings in the first 4 months. We've got another case study, 5 deals in the pipeline. He didn't close 1 deals, but he got 5 qualified sellers that are going to sell in this pipeline within 30 days, right? We got Manar, 4 listings within 30 days, calling expired, calling canceled, calling old expireds at the right time. and get a bunch of listings right away. And this is Carlos, 2 listings per month just from Circle Prospect. I love that, by the way. 2 listings per month just from Circle Prospect. And this is James Michener, and I got his whole case study on on YouTube. He made $1 million in GCI just from having 2 ISAs help him with his calls, directly attributed to the leads that they generated, right? And this is over a couple of years. It's not every year, right? But he said, my ISA team helped me make $1 million in GCI. 2 ISAs, calling all day, every day, generating qualified sellers. Not booking appointments, okay? Let me just be really clear on that. In fact, none of the examples I just gave you was their goal to generate a bunch of appointments. No, actually. Their goal was to talk to sellers and find people that were still motivated. That was it. That's their job, all right? Let's jump on the next one. Inbound internet leads, right? Okay, why internet leads, right? It is not the most profitable, because it's not the most profitable, but it is the fastest and by far scalable of all the lead sources I mentioned today, right? Why is it the fastest? Because you can pay someone and get a lead tomorrow, or get a lead within a few hours, right? Of an internet marketing campaign. It can happen. It can take longer. I know it can take longer, but it can be as fast as, all right? It is the most scalable because you can buy, and I see teams do this. They're buying out all the zip codes around them from Realtor, from Zillow. If you've been booted from a Realtor.com or a Zillow a zip code, you know what I mean, right? You can scale these up much faster than their lead sources if you have the resources to do so, right? It is a lower ROI because there's a higher cost to acquire, right? And you've got to have an ISA. In my opinion, if you're internet leads at a high level, you need someone in the ISA role. If you don't have an ISA, you are the ISA. Okay. Maybe you need a part-time ISA to help you just nurture and follow up and contact these leads. They take a lot of work. They take a lot of effort. All right. It's the most automatable. You can get these leads generated for you automatically. And in my opinion, the high ROI of this group is going to be Google PPC followed by Facebook Meta. All right, if you're looking for ROI. All right, let's jump into it. Got a few minutes left. Going to power through the next 7 minutes. Oh,
we got a question. We got a question.
Oh, go for it.
What systems are these ISAs using to get phone information on these prospects?
Oh, great question. So I'm assuming this is coming from the prospecting part. We just started internet leads. So if you're doing prospecting to get information for them, whether kind of regardless if it's expired, Circle, canceled or Circle, you're buying them. You're buying this information for them. And usually the data source comes with a dialer itself, right? So like, for example, RedX, who's a sponsor of LCA, Lab Code Agents, and you probably get a great deal. I mean, hey, Young, you should drop a RedX link in the chat if you've got one. You can get a really good deal for RedX if you tell them you're coming from LCA, and you can buy expired, canceled, Circle Prospect, absentee. You're going to buy all of them from RedX, right? Very reasonable price. There's other options out there, like for example, Vulcan 7 is another one. I actually don't think they're a sponsor, right? So I don't know if I get in trouble for mentioning them. They're another great option if you're doing like expireds, for example, right? They're a great option for expireds. And if you're doing Circle Prospecting, Mojo Neighborhood Search, Vulcan Neighborhood Search, and RedX Geo Leads, okay, for Circle Prospect. I probably should have put this in the list somewhere, but I have a lot of content around that topic. If you guys want to check it out. But I'd say for Circle Prospect, the best ones are RedX Geo Leads because it's probably the best Circle Prospecting product out there right now. It's very reasonably priced. You can get, I think you get 7,500 or 10,000 leads a month through RedX Geo Leads. You get thousands of them, which you need. If you have a full-time caller calling them every day, you need 10,000 every single month, and you need another 10,000 the next month, right? So they make it very easy to do that. I would put kind of Mojo and Vulcan below that, and that's how you need. So that's how you get the information from one of these data providers. And for expired listings, it's required you get them from a third party. You can't. What you never want to do is get them from the MLS. I learned that one the hard way, right? As a newbie rookie agent that didn't know what I was doing, and they will fine you if you grab information, the wrong person's information from the MLS, right? So hopefully that answers that question. Let's jump into it.
I got another one.
Oh, you're right. Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Because I want to try to get through these. Can you also talk about what lead systems you use or if there is one that you recommend to any of your clients that doesn't have one.
So the easiest one to layer on to any of these is circle prospecting, right? Because it tends to be the easiest kind of lead to convert. And the reason I say that, Lorraine, is that if you're gonna, again, not that you can't convert the other ones, of course you can, right? Expired listings take a lot of skill to convert. You gotta have a lot of practice, have a lot of experience, right? For sell by owners, similar to that. It takes skill to convert these. Once you kind of you exercise that skill, you have that skill, you can do it all day long. Circle prospect is kind of the gift that keeps on giving, because you can talk. It's just like having a conversation with one of your neighbors. Okay. If I get you in front of your neighbors, could you, and again, you're only talking to them because they told your ISA that they're thinking of selling in the future, right? 6 months down the line, a year down the line. Do you think you can have a good conversation with one of your neighbors that's thinking of selling? I can, for sure. Like any day of the, you know what? I can probably have a conversation with any neighbor in America. They're just thinking of selling. They're in an early stage, right? They're top of funnel. That's a very easy conversation to have. And you just want to be helpful and you want to show your value and your expertise, right? Expired listing takes more skill than that. That's like table stakes. You need more, but that's what I mean. I think Circle is the one you can layer on. If you're already doing Facebook, I have clients doing Facebook and Circle. If they're doing expireds, you don't have new expireds every day. You might have a list of 3,000 old expireds, and in a few months your ISA is called through all of them, right? You can layer on top Circle prospect on top of that. So Circle tends to be a really popular one.
So Jose was saying this question was more specific to a CRM. So what I meant, like a CRM or a model for the caller to funnel the leads.
Okay, so I will say this. If you've got a CRM, like what CRM is best for an ISA? Is that really what the question is about? Like what CRM system is good for them?
I think so. Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So you have that. So okay, here it goes. I'm gonna pick favorites here. So I'm not, and I don't get any money from this. I'm not a spokesperson. Follow Up Boss is the best CRM for ISAs. I've said it. There it goes. It's out there in the universe. The reason being the reporting is very good. That's the reason I'm saying that. The reporting is very good. But understand this. It is, Follow Up Boss is not a cold calling system. You can't put a bunch, again, I'm following their advice. This is what Follow Boss will tell you. You can't put a bunch of expireds in the Follow Up Boss and then call them through their Follow Up Boss dialer and then get that, tagged as spam or something, right? So they won't support it. They're going to go, you know what, you're using it wrong. That's not what our system is for. What a lot of my clients do is that they have their ISA call through Vulcan, through RedX, through Mojo, and the seller leads, they put them into Follow Up Boss, right? So they can get all the goodness of Follow Up Boss. They get, listing alerts. They get, market reports. They get your newsletter every week or month or whatever, and they can get a text reminder. They can do all the fun stuff that Follow Up Boss does. But you would never do that. And let me be really clear. You would never put a cold list into Follow Up Boss and do any of those things, right? It's unsolicited. You're going to get into a lot of trouble if you do that, right? Especially text messages. People will get mad if you do send unsolicited text to them. So don't do that. But once you've generated the lead, you can send them an email, you can send them a text message, you can send all those things, right? Once the lead's been generated. So I don't know if that answers the question. And again, I have clients using Lofty and Sierra and all these. I'm a billion other ones. I just like Follow Boss because it's just it's got the edge on the reporting part. Or you can do Lofty and buy Sisu, like a reporting layer. You can do that too, right? So there's more than one way to skin that cat. But it's hard to go wrong with the top three, which in my opinion are Follow Up Boss, Lofty, and Sierra, right? It's hard to go wrong with any of those three. But the Follow Up Boss is the one that's better built for teams, in my opinion. And you can be you get a small license, like a 5-person team or a 3-person team, right? You don't have to have the massive Follow Up Boss installation. But the question's been asked, and that's my honest answer to that one. And the people that I have had teams switch over to Follow Up Boss because they have ISAs. Like it gets challenging for them to run things outside, do the reporting and everything. Once they scale their ISA teams, they actually end up switching to Follow Up Boss because it's a really good teams for reporting and accountability, right? So that becomes really important. All right. So, oh no, are we out of time? No, are we out of time? I think we're almost out of time. So I'm gonna breathe. Okay, I'll do the 60-second version. If you guys want to watch these slides in more detail, you can send me an email. I'll put this at the very end. So I'm gonna do the 60-second version here. So Google ads, Facebook ads, right? Great. That's what this means. You've got the conversion is the issue with internet leads. I said they're very easy to generate. They're not easy to convert. Follow up, and to even get in touch with them is a challenge. Get them to respond to you. That's why an ISA is important. You've got to respond to leads right away, and you got to be ready to go. When you're following up with new leads, 7 calls, 7 days immediately, 16 touches within 30 days, right? And after 30, and if they're unresponsive for another 30 days, try again. Yes, that's the effort it takes to convert internet leads. If a lead, and this is another big point, if you have contacted leads, don't use automation on them. All the automation is for everybody else, not for the contacted leads. Don't send them a bunch of text messages every day. That's not what that's for. Contacted leads have personalized follow-up. And when you're nurturing your leads, right, you got to make sure that you're checking in with them every 30 days. Maybe if they're further out, it could be less than that. If they're 90 days, you're checking in with them weekly at least. Nurture your leads effectively. And here's just the math. You can make money with internet leads. I'm gonna blow past this one. Trust me, you can make money with that. And here's some great case studies you can check out on YouTube. This is Tatiana, 5 million in volume the first 30 days because she wasn't calling her leads. She hired an ISA. Somebody called all of her old leads and they got a bunch of deals right off the bat, right? 45 appointments per week. This is Llewellyn. He runs a marketing agency. It's crazy. 20 listings in a year from Facebook leads. With Nick, he's out of Ontario. And this is Brandon, 6 appointments per day per ISA. He's a massive Facebook marketing agency and more. Okay, great. Special offer for you guys. If you want to take this nice and slow and watch this deck at the speed it should be watched, send me an email, info@powerisa.com, include in the subject line the ISA formula, okay? And we'll send you a free copy of this slide deck. I always give these away. I don't want you distracted taking a bunch of notes. And if you book a call and you met with our team and you mention this webinar, you're going to get a free course called the Circle Prospecting Bootcamp, okay? It's a 30-day, it's a 1-month course, right? And you guys get it for free. And you get recorded sessions that we did with our clients. This is exclusively for our clients. Anyone that calls into our team and mentions this, you'll get this one for free, okay? So those are my goodies. I'm a little bit over, but I think it was a really good session. Thanks for bringing those questions. And Lorraine, thanks for bringing the fire today.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks for doing this for us. And yeah, we are a little bit over. So I don't want to tie anybody else up. But yeah, if you've got any more questions, reach out to Gus. He will answer you because he's answered me. And thanks for all of this. You've got my wheels turning as to what else I could be doing.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, everybody.